If you had to give a 1-hour speech on the spot, what would you talk about? Story 1. The design, removal, and replacement of a new kitchen. Also, how to avoid divorce while doing the remodel. Reply 1. At the end, doing a satisfaction survey, one of your listeners might say that the subject was thoroughly covered. Reply 2. We remodeled our home a few years back. As the husband, I went back to my role that I assumed for our wedding. A lot of nodding and agreeing. Drew the line on a few things, but most of the time said, "That's great." Reply 3. This is entirely my plan for an upcoming kitchen and bathroom remodel we have planned. My wife, being a kitchen designer, has some heavy influence on this approach for me, though. She did suggest we try installing the cabinets ourselves. I'm an accountant with almost no handyman capabilities to speak of, so I did veto that idea, as that sounds like it's going to cost way more than if I just pay someone to do it. Reply 4. So I did veto that idea, as that sounds like it's going to cost way more than if I just pay someone to do it. If you're an accountant, you'll make more money at your office being an accountant than you would trying to be a contractor. And you won't be risking totally screwing up thousands of dollars worth of cabinets while you're at it. I'm a contractor. You're an accountant. If we stay in our own lane, things will go much smoother. Story 2. Hospice. I mostly do admissions, which involves talking about hospice for over an hour. I feel confident I could depress the audience to sleep informatively. Reply 1. This would have been mine. I was a director of a hospice. Then I moved to bird feeding, so my next topic would be feeding the birds. Reply 2. My wife is a hospice nurse. She used to work in ICU, but she got burnt out during COVID. She's very happy with hospice. But some of the effed up family drama stories I hear are insane. Mostly related to the pain meds. Story 3. The difficulty of balancing combat versus roleplay in TTRPGs, and how to better incorporate players into RP who might be new to it or a bit shy. Edit for spelling. Reply 1. My first thought was, easy. I can monologue about D&D for a lot longer than 1 hour without any preparation. Reply 2. I've done it in a public speaking class in college because my lazy ass didn't prepare anything, but I did have my books and such still on the trunk of my car from a recent session. Story 4. Define informative. 'Cause I'd give a talk on my life and all the dumb crap I've done. You'd sure be informed about how dumb I've been. Reply 1. Exactly, I could rather easily give a 1-hour lecture on a game 99% of people have never heard of, or haven't heard of in a long time, for an easy 10K. It's still new information to them, but is it informative? Story 5. ADD being understudied in women, and the large impacts it places on women's hormones. Update Part 2. Posted some more info below. I apologize if the wording is wacky. I woke up with a migraine. Story 6. As an autistic person, let me just say, for you, the day you had to give an impromptu presentation on a topic of your choice for an hour, and make it actually be informative, was one of the most stressful days of your life. But for me, it was Tuesday. Reply 1. Lalamau. I was going to say, you're going to be desperate enough to pay me an additional 10K at the end of the hour to get me to stop info dumping. But your quote is way funnier. Reply 2. I feel like I could be tricked into an hour-long speech on a ridiculous amount of topics if I were prompted by a question. Not autistic, but I always say I think all data is valid on a long enough timeline. Story 7. Proper fitting bras, the science behind certain materials, breast anatomy, and what styles fit body types. The importance of a sports bra and which type for why activities. Story 8. Music theory. I'm bad at public speaking, but I could probably stretch it out if I started from the basics. Reply 1. I do a how to write idiomatically for each instrument talk. They'd be dragging me off the stage an hour in with me shouting. But remember never to write high long notes for the trumpet. Reply 2. And to wrap it all up today, after sharing all the basic rules of music theory, you're invited to my next lecture, How to Break All the Rules I Just Taught You, because nobody wants to listen to that. or as I like to call it, secondary dominance. Story 9, how to buy a car. Not just how to negotiate the purchase price of a vehicle. In fact, the beginning of my speech would focus on how that's missing the forest from the trees, but how to negotiate the price and how rebates work, what advertisements mean, more information about trade-ins than anyone probably wants, how financing works, how leasing works, how dealerships work, how salesman pay works, how warranties work, what finance managers are, why you get shuttled around during the process, why the process takes so long, all of it. In fact, I hope an hour is enough. By the end, I'll get paid the 10K out just to shut up. Reply 1. I do knowledge needed for successful car ownership, basic maintenance, basic DIY-able repairs, and how to spot signs of trouble. But no one would care because most people have already convinced themselves that touching a car beyond driving it is beneath them would somehow make them lose money. I've heard this in various excuses. Or just stupid and they're not going to even try. So many people aggressively refuse to learn anything about their cars. Even when it comes to basic things like maintenance schedules, when to take it in for service, and how to visually spot problems. I honestly think that they find the idea of it to be overwhelming, so they act like they shouldn't even try in order to avoid trying, finding it to be hard, and then feeling bad about themselves because of it. Story 10. Scalp microbiome and the heresy of the current haircare industry. Opening statement. Shampoo is 100 years old and was never supposed to be used more than once a month. Reply 1. I would love to know exactly what products you use to clean your hair. It's okay if you don't spend an hour telling me. Reply 2. Score. Depression is finally good for something. Also, so do you just rinse or scrub and rinse the rest of the time? Reply 3. As a microbiome expert, scalp scrubs make me so sad. I think washing your hair is good and feels good too, important. But foam and shampoos makes no sense. Speech outline. History of shampoo and the Schwarzkopf responsibility. The scalp microbiome, a gardener for your rainforest. 40% of people have sensitive scalp, and it's 100% self-inflicted. Rethinking hair care treatment, from antibacterial to probacterial. Minimalism as a new industry norm, can it be done? Closing joke, I'm still thinking about it. Reply 4. If you had to give a quick recommendation for the layman, what would it be? What product? How often, for example? Story 11. Hearing impaired people and the wrong stigma, deaf and dumb. I've battled my entire life proving that I'm intelligent, and hearing loss has zero effect on cognitive abilities. Reply 1. Well, originally dumb meant unable to speak, but dumb people have misinterpreted it to mean unintelligent. Story 12. Geocaching. I talk about it. Tell something personal in the stories. Ramble. About sa masalalan this hard places I've been, and then cash the check and prepare for my next adventure. Story 13. Gilligan's Island. Breakdown of each character, analysis of why their repeated attempts fail, philosophical question of whether they should want to be rescued. Story 14. I'm an English teacher, so one of the books I've taught or studied probably, but otherwise the history of the AIDS virus, I have a weird interest. Story 15. Evolutionary algorithms, their background, efficacy, a few approaches to make them more optimal, and how to apply them to swarms of UAVs and MAV for self-evolving attack behavior. Story 16. The late history of the Habsburg Empire and how its disintegration set the stage for World War II. Most of the audience will likely be asleep before I even got to World War I, making it anxiety-free. Story 17. How to grow psilocybin mushrooms in your home, and how microdosing can put depression/anxiety into remission. Story 18. Having dogs, fostering dogs, and training dogs. Or gardening. But I feel like no matter how much I learn in that arena, there's always so much more to learn. So probably focus on invasive plants and how to plant native to better support local ecosystems. Story 19. I'm autistic, so getting paid to info dump for once would be nice. My topic would be the Mass Effect games and the extended lore around them. Story 20. the right to choose the garden waste container as an alternative to burial or cremation, and the historical record of this not being the case.
Thanks for watching until the end. If you have a similar story to these that you want to share with us, please leave it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave us a like and subscribe. For more videos like this one right now, please stop by our channel. Thanks again, and see you next time.